Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. It's a glorious day, Wednesday, here in good old Sydney town. A little bit of overcast conditions, but I'm sure it'll burn off and be another beautiful spring day. I'm going to go through a book summary again this morning, and it's an awesome book summary by a very, very popular female author known as Brene Brown. And the book that we're going to go through is entitled Braving the Wilderness. So Brene Brown is an author who loves talking about authenticity, belonging, and all of those really soft, touchy-feely sort of subjects which most people aren't comfortable talking about, but Brene is able to make it accessible to people through her books, her programs. And this book here is just a fine example of what we can learn and how we can incorporate it into our lives. So Brene kicks off the book with an observation, a quote, where she says that true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. So this book is all about turning us about, and instead of worrying about what other people think of us, to spend more time understanding and focusing on who we are. Because once we conquer the who we are, once we accept who we are, once we become our best supporter, according to Brene, then that's when the world changes for us and we become more interesting and a lot more engaging where we need to, and our life becomes better. So the first point that she makes is a really, really interesting point, because a lot of us talk about it, a lot of us think about this, but the world that we live in today is an age of extreme polarization, and everybody, each and every one of us, are challenged to try and understand how we belong in the world as it is today. But each person, it's a natural state for each and every one of us to want to belong, because we're social beings. Everybody from a very, very young age to a very, very old age wants to be with people who they belong, who they feel that they belong with. But according to the author, we are at a time in the history of mankind where we are experiencing a thing called a connection crisis, where we are ever connected via social media, via the internet, via groups, and yet we feel isolated, lonely, and disconnected. So this is where the author says that we need to be introspective, we need to look into ourselves and understand what's going on. And the first thing, as I alluded to earlier, is that we need to believe in belonging to ourselves first. Be true to yourself. Be able to stand alone, to be the single person in the wilderness. You need to show up as your true self, and you don't need to change to fit in to any group. I know there's a lot of social pressure for people to do and say things in order to fit in, else they are ostracised or made to feel uncomfortable or even cancelled. So the author says that the first thing we need to do is to make a decision to be our true selves, and we don't need to change to fit in. We're good enough as we are. So we need to follow, according to Brene, a daily practice that requires us to show integrity and authenticity. We need to find the road back to ourselves, and we need to also embrace the thing called the wilderness. because the wilderness is a place that is dangerous and breathtaking, is both sought after and feared. But as we said, we live in a world which is deeply, deeply divided, and that technology has not helped connect us, but it's forced us to be further apart, because social media has created tribes, has created groups of like-minded people who find solace in their own similar sort of views. But what this does is if you're continually surrounded by people who have the same mindset as you and you're not challenged, what the author is saying is that you become more separated. You become deluded, thinking that everybody thinks the same as you, and that everybody who doesn't think the same as you is a problem. And you see this with the anti-vaxxers. The anti-vaxxers over the past year and a half have surrounded themselves by people who have similar sort of views, have shared with each other disinformation and misinformation that creates fear, uncertainty and doubt. And they believe the crap that they're fed by others of similar sort of ilk, and they end up becoming so isolated and so distant and so I guess unbelonging to their families, to their companies, to their work environments, to their religions, that it causes a huge social upheaval. So when we look back to our human nature, we understand that we have a primary need. That primary need is to belong and not to stand out. Morning, Toga. My friend Toga there, lovely man, worked with him for years. So the author goes on to say that because we want to belong and not to stand out, it does cause issues. And it happens at the family level. So a lot of people, and a lot of us, have felt rejected by family whilst growing up, trying to fit in, trying to be like mum and dad. And Brene talks of an example there where she tried out for the cheerleading squad at her school, because her mother was a cheerleader, her father was a player on the football team. So they had a tradition within the family of being sporting and being accepted into these sorts of roles. But when Brene was told that she didn't quite fit or didn't have the skills to be what she wanted to try and achieve, she felt dislocated and isolated. But when her parents got involved, this is a really interesting thing, when her parents got involved and complained to the school that she didn't make the team, she felt even more rejected as a child, because not only had the team rejected her, but by her parents getting involved and showing their disappointment with the school, that made her feel even more rejected. So listen to people, listen to parents. Sometimes by you getting involved doesn't make things better. You know, it makes things worse, because the child, your sibling, the person in your group feels as if they're really let everybody down when others get involved to try and solve the problem and are unable to solve it. And as we understand, rejection as a child is a real problem, and it's a problem that a lot of people carry into their adulthood. So the message from the author here is to be yourself and no one else, and to kill the self-loathing that a lot of people seem to breed. Stop seeking acceptance from others. Belong to you rather than belonging to them. Because if you try and belong to other people and to other groups, what you're doing is you're giving them the power to let you down, you're giving them the power to destroy you, you're giving them the power to control you and to disappoint you. So what Brene would do to help her get around and over and through her challenges was she used a technique called the permission slip technique, where she'd write herself permission slips. Permission slips to be goofy, permission slips to be funny, permission slips to be accepted. And some advice that she got from Maya Angelou was that you don't need to be moved. You don't need to be too accommodative with people around you. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be in the wilderness and to be you, rather than to give up you and pretend and live a fake version of you in order to fit in with other people. So we need bravery and trust to traverse the wilderness, because the wilderness, for all of us, we're all being part of the wilderness. The wilderness is a journey to the unknown. It's a journey to a place that nobody else has been before. Because as we know, as we understand, and as we should appreciate, nobody's been to the future, and nobody has been us before. So it's up to us, it's up to each and every one of us to make the most of the journey and to accept and embrace where we're heading and we've got coming our way. So we need bravery and trust, and to embrace the unfamiliar, because a lot of the things that are coming our way, our tomorrows, our next moments, are extremely unfamiliar. And each path, each person's path is unique and personal. And this is where the author says that we need to be led by curiosity and joy rather than fear and intrepidation, and to welcome and to feel comfortable with being vulnerable.
Doors closing. Please stand
Because
clear.
the author says the path that we take, each step that we take, is what gets us and creates our path. So we need to be careful that we don't live in an environment of unchallenged opinions, because loneliness has become an epidemic, and we need variety of opinion. We need to be surrounded with people who have a variety of ideas and life hacks and life experiences. And that's why bringing you on a daily basis the magic of Jim's 5am Club is something that can help each and every one of us, because it introduces us to OPE, other people's experiences, because we all live a sliver of reality, because each and every one of us can't live full reality. I'm here on the train now doing a vlog, somebody's at home still sleeping, somebody's on their way to Melbourne, somebody is in hospital. Each person has a different sliver of reality which will shape their worldview. So in order to broaden and deepen our perspective of life, we need to be exposed to other people's experiences so we can compare and contrast and see where we sit on that continuum, and not, I repeat, not to be continually surrounded with people of like minds, because what you'll do is you'll fall into a hierarchy, a pecking order, and you won't be yourself, you won't like what you see, what you hear, but you can't say anything about it for fear of not belonging and being ostracized. So it's important, as the author said before, to be true to yourself, to embrace yourself, and not to be too accommodative and too compliant with what other people think, say or do, but to be yourself. So thank you very much for joining me on this wonderful episode, this Wednesday morning episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've just reviewed the book Braving the Wilderness by Brene, and hopefully we've learned a few hacks that we can incorporate into our life skills, into our inventory of tricks and hacks to help us get through the day, get through the week, and get through our challenges. So I'm on my way to work today, and it's been good. I've really enjoyed this book. Take care and bye for now.